A member of Black Star Riders, a member of Thin Lizzy. It is Scott Gorham. Welcome.
And a member of Planet Earth.
Yes, and currently a member of Planet Rock.
There you go.
There you go. We'll keep you in the stratosphere.
Good to be here.
Thank you. It's good to have you here. There's so many questions, so little time, so I'll crack on. Okay. Growing up in California, were you influenced in the early days by the Southern movement, the West Coast movement? What was it that got you into guitars?
Well, the very, very early days, it would be, and I think everybody knows this about me now, is a surf guitar player named was Dick Dale. And he was, his title was Dick Dale, King of the Surf Guitars, right? And there were no vocals. It was all instrumental.
Yeah.
He was that cool looking. The hair was all slicked back, the Stratocaster, a really tough looking guy, right? And like I say, there was no vocals. He was just an instrumentalist. And when you went to see him, he was this great looking guy and the great sound. He's still kicking around today, doing it, So that was my earliest influence, guitar wise. But I think the major influence on me was when the British invasion happened, with the Beatles and the Stones and Jeff Beck and all those people. That's what made me really, as a kid, sit up and go, wow. This is something I really want to do. Listen to these guys. The American stuff, I liked it. I thought it was all pretty cool, but it just didn't hit me the way the whole British scene hit me.
In the 60s, was it tribal in the sense that, it's too young for me, but I get the sense it was the British invasion, the Southern rock movement. There was the mod stuff. There was like a blues scene. Was it that kind of everything in cliques and sections?
Yeah, it was pretty... boxed in. You kind of knew the person you were talking to by the kind of music he listened to, But you got pretty cliquey. But me and all my friends, we were, the Eric Claptons, the Hendrix. I know he's American, but Traffic.
Yeah.
Rolling Stones, the Jeff Beck Band, Peter Green, all those guys. Those were like our major influences.
Did you turn professional in California or the States, or did you have to immigrate, for want of a better phrase?
Well, you'd like to think that you were a professional musician back home, right? But really, it took me coming to England and hooking up with Phil to really understand what being a pro was all about. How you write songs, how you even rehearse, for an album. How you rehearse for, going out on tour and all that. I thought I knew all this stuff, but I had no idea, right? Phil, I won't call him a slave driver, but man, that guy could work. He just loved working and working and working all the time, right? And, I think it's something that the other three of us weren't quite used to. We didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into. We just wanted to have a good time, But Phil was like, bang, straight down the line. No, we got to do this. We're going to take that section out there. We're going to do that. And all right, that sounds pretty good, but let's pull this out of here and do this. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, right. And if you were smart, you'd be listening to all this and taking it in and applying it to what you do.
Of course, you're the longest now serving member of Thin Lizzy, but not the original one. You joined it a few years after they've been going.
That's right.
Were you aware of them before, because you were saying about the British invasion?
I was not.
All right, so it was like an alien band to you.
Yeah, it really was. I've told the story a million times, but, I had 30 days on my visa, and then I had to leave England and go back home. And this one pub band that I had was called Fast Buck. I used to get a lot of other musicians up there just so I could meet as many people as I possibly could, right? And one of the guys, he was Irish, right? His name was Ruan O'Loughlin. And after this gig we did at this pub one night, he says, I know there's a band that's looking for another guitar player. Do you want me to put your name in? And I said, well, yeah, why not? I got nothing to lose at this point. I said, what's the name of the band? And he said, well, it's an Irish band called Thin Lizzy, right? Got to remember, at this point, they'd had their hits, Whiskey in the Jar. It had come and gone about a year and a half earlier, so they weren't being played on the radio. They weren't being talked about in any of the press, so I had no way of knowing who these guys were. And the first time I'd known about them was actually going down there and getting introduced to Phil and the two Bryans.
So you joined, like you said, you joined Thin Lizzy just after Whiskey in the Jar. When you've joined what is an established band, was it difficult? Do you feel like the new kid in school when everyone, well, not even the new kid in school, the new kid on the second term where everyone knows each other and you're sort of sitting at the back thinking, oh, how's this going to work out?
Well, I definitely felt like the new guy. There's no doubt about it. I mean, when I walked into that first meeting with everybody, I mean, nobody really even wanted to talk to me except Phil, right? The other two guys, and unbeknownst to me, they had just gone through 25 different auditions with 25 different guys. I had no idea they'd been going through that, right? So obviously they were thinking, oh, great, here comes another one, and he's American. What do we do with that, you know? But, you know, I just started to, you know, Brian Robertson started teaching me the songs and all that. I guess I caught on pretty quickly. Because it was like, bang, 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 this quarter, bang, bang, bang. You got it? Yeah. And I didn't have it. But my eyes were just glued onto his hands on the neck. And, you know, I would make the move to the next chord just a fraction after him, right? So I guess they heard what they liked, obviously. And Phil called me up that night to ask me to join the band. But, yeah, I thought Robertson had been in the band like a year or whatever, right? He'd only been there 2 weeks before me.
Yeah, it was a whole new
the
show.
Veteran, you know?
The veteran of 2 weeks. When you heard some of the material, obviously you were part of a lot of the material afterwards, but you effectively, it was like almost a line dancing band. It was rock, but you can hear what I can only describe as diddly dee. It was Gaelic Irish music. Was that not weird at first when you're thinking, this is like nothing I've ever heard? How's this going to work?
You know, I'm glad you said that because Phil on that first day said, so, you know anything about Irish rock? And I didn't want to blow it. I went, oh, hell yeah. You know, I play it all the time. And I didn't know what he was talking about, right? So he's kind of giving me that look like, okay, right. And once again, they start teaching me this Irish rock song. And I guess I caught on to it pretty decently and enough to impress everybody. So, but yeah, I really had no idea at this point what Irish rock was.
Did Phil
I didn't even know that was a term.
No, that was what I was going to ask you. I'd never heard it even to this day. Did Phil just make it up?
I don't know. Probably.
Because Irish music, it's like line dancing music. They've got the violins, they've got the Irish drums, right. And you can hear that in Thin Lizzy just with Thin Lizzy music. So to an alien ear, like someone who's just joined a band, it must be like, whoa, what's this all about?
Absolutely. I don't remember any Irish band coming over to California doing a tour of LA or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it just didn't happen. So
I mean, you got the Cause now, but that's kind of Irish pop rockish.
Well, you know, the one cool thing is that because of, you know, Phil and his personality and the success we did have in America, it really did open up the doors for the next lot of Irish musicians to come out of Ireland. He kind of said, it's okay. You know, there's not a lot of us, but it's okay. There's great musicians in this country. Get a plane ticket, get a boat ticket, and let's get out of here. Let's do this thing, right? And, you know, I attribute a lot of that to him, that he opened the Irish doors.
You've chosen a great Thin Lizzy track, but if you ask people to name a load of instant sort of known Thin Lizzy tracks, Romeo and the Lonely Girl from Jailbreak is probably not the first one. Is it your performance on it you like,
yes.
or is it the...
No, well, I do like it, but, you know, it was... I call it the happy right hand on this, you know, the guitar style I picked for it. And, you know, Phil was really into the funk thing too, right?
Yeah.
He had this bass line, and I just started playing this kind of, you know, funky stride over the top of it, and he loved it, and we just took off from there.
So Thin Lizzy, obviously famous for, they say the twin guitar sound. If you want to be technical, the unison guitar sound. As far as you knew, were you the first band or just the most recognizable band with that sound?
I think it's more the latter.
Yeah.
You got to remember, Les Paul was doing it back in the 50s. The Allman Brothers, obviously, were doing it, right? I think what was different with us is we were an absolute all-out rock band and playing these harmony lines over minor chords, you know, instead of the major chord. So that gave it also another little twist, you know, to the left. But we definitely we're not the first. I correct people all the time on this. You invented harmony. No, we didn't.
I mean, without being too musically nerdy, it's one thing to have a song or two songs where you're in unison, but you became famous for it. So at some point, did you or Phil go, we got this twin thing now. Let's just use it more often than not. Was it a conscious thing?
Yeah. No, I mean, from the first time it happened, I think it was just on the second album, Fighting, Brian Robertson had gone out to the studio just to put the single line, the Lone Ranger single line. And the engineer accidentally had left on this delay, half a millisecond or something. So when it fed back on itself, it fed back in harmony, right? And of course, he's going, oh, gee, oh, sorry, man. Oh, my God. Well, let me erase that. We're all going, no, wait a minute. Let's hear that back. And, we really liked what we heard. I mean, it really fit what we were doing in that section of the song. So Brian went out, redid his line. And while I was sitting in the studio working out all the harmony notes, and I went out and did mine. And we sat back and listened to it. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. I got another line on another song here. Let's try the same thing. But, and I keep using this word. It was not premeditated at all. We just kind of fell into this thing and kept using it more and more because we really liked doing it, so that's how it actually began.
Now, as far as I can tell, The Boys Are Back in Town is in a three-way fight with Smoke on the Water and Boston's More Than a Feeling for the title of which songs appeared on the most rock compilation albums. Is that a song you would happily never hear again on that basis? You must have heard it millions of times.
No, I still like hearing it. I mean, if I probably, hated listening to the song, I couldn't play it live at any point. So you do have to have a kind of a love affair with certain songs.
Yeah, it's that love-hate, I would have thought, because you appreciate what it's done for you and how far it's got you. But at the same time, like Bryan Adams with Everything I Do and that Wet, Wet, Wet song, it's like, oh.
Right. Well, see, now you're going into another category.
Yeah, I know. We'll come straight back.
But, the Boys, it's actually a fun song to play. It's a good, guitar platform kind of song. So.
How true is this? Is this rock myth or did this really happen?
Oh.
I'm asking the wrong person, but obviously I can only ask you.
Right.
Did Phil break up Thin Lizzy because he heard Def Leppard's Pyromania, or is that a myth?
God, no. Phil was the last one to want to break up Thin Lizzy. That was more my fault. We were having problems, with the whole drug thing and all that, and I just felt that performances were starting to wane a bit. The writing was starting to go a little bit downhill and all that. And I just said to Phil, I said, of all the work that we've done in this band, I feel that we're going to start dragging this thing into the gutter. Maybe we ought to, give it a rest, right? And he was adamant that was not going to happen. There's no way, we can keep going. Just don't even talk in those terms. And finally, I just said, Phil, I got to go. I know this is a horrible thing. You don't want to hear it, but I got to go. I got to get out of this thing to get healthy again, right? And that's when he came up with, well, all right, I see what you're talking about. Okay, well, we can't leave it like this. We'll do one more album, then we'll do one more world tour, which turned into like I think 13 months, a farewell tour, right? This thing just wouldn't end. But no, it really wasn't Phil. He would have gone there. He would have been there today if he could have.
So, I mean, were you yourself a mess at the time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, right, okay.
I'll admit it. That's why I knew I had to, to get out, to get out of this thing, because it's either you stay in there and you make money and the names and lights and all that, and probably die.
Yeah.
Or you get out and knowing that probably people are going to forget about you, but you're still going to be able to be walking around on this planet, so I took the latter.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of musicians over the years, you can see with their lifestyle, sports stars, actors, you can see what's going to happen. Could you see what happened to Phil with his premature death? Did you think, obviously it was sad, but was it a big shock?
Yeah, absolutely. Phil was, I always call he was the Iron Man of rock. He could take more stuff, stay up more days, run 100 more miles than you. I mean, you could see that it was really affecting him, in a big way, but still, this is the Iron Man of rock, and I had gone to visit him 3 days before he died, and he was a mess, a total mess. But when he saw how actually healthy I was, I think it kind of inspired him to want to get off of that train, and to get better and to, because he was talking about, we need to start writing songs again. We need to get the band back together and go back out on the road. And that's when I looked at him and, Phil, he goes, yeah, I know. I'm telling you, I'm gonna get off the gear. I'm gonna get healthy, and we can make this work. And I actually walked out of his house thinking, something. I think he can do it. I think he really means it this time. And of course, 3 weeks later, you got the bad news. So.
Do you look back over, the years and think maybe if I'd seen him sooner, he might have got better sooner, or is it one of those it was going to happen anyway?
Well, that's kind of a tough hypothetical there. I couldn't have actually come any sooner because before that, I was in the same state. So
yeah.
You can't say, hey, man, quit taking those drugs. Really, I'm on your way out. Can you pass the drugs over here? You can't really do that.
Yeah.
But, I got over there as soon as I could, as soon as I felt comfortable enough to be around that scene again. I did go over, and I think it did make an impression. So, but like I say, it was an impression too late. So, what can you do?
Years later, when Phil's gone, and you've done all your stuff in between, what brings you back, and what makes you brave enough to want to come back without your iconic leader?
Well, it's the songs themselves. I had done so many interviews asking me, are you going to come back? Are you going to try to put the band back together? We all want to hear the songs, blah, blah, blah. And it took me a long time to actually come to this conclusion that I was going to, put a version of Thin Lizzy together and go out on the road. It was John Sykes who kept calling me and saying, I've just been to Japan. I put 3 Lizzy songs in the set. The audience tore the roof off, man. We got to at least try to do this, right? And I finally gave in after about, the 5th phone call in a year of talking about it. And I said, well, okay, where are we going to do this? And he goes, well, we'll just go to Japan. We'll just play 7 shows, right? And who's going to sing it? And he goes, well, I thought I would sing it. I didn't even know John could sing, right? So he sends me over some of his solo stuff. And yeah, man, the guy can sing. So we went to Japan. Obviously, we did all the rehearsals and all that. We went to Japan. And I was really kind of expecting the worst, that this is not going to fly. Nobody's going to like this. But true to what John was saying, man, the roof got torn off every night, and I thought, wow, this is great, and being able to play the songs again, that's really good, So at the end of the Japanese trip, we all shook hands and went, wow, great. Okay. That was fun. See you. And that's when the, emails and letters and all that started to come in saying, we don't understand this. We are the people over here that have supported you all these years, and you decide to do this halfway across the world. What's up with that?
Yeah.
And there was so much of that I said, well, okay, next year we'll do 6 shows in Europe, right? We did that, and still the requests came in. And each time we do this, the startup costs are killing us financially. Right?
Yeah.
So we finally said, well, I tell you what, next year, let's actually try to do a proper tour and see what happens. And that's how the ball, got kept rolling for us. Right? But it was all baby steps. It wasn't just, we're going to do this, bang, straight out. It was, stick your toe in the water and
see how well it gets, sort of thing. Well, of course, a few years later is the Ricky Warwick Thin Lizzy years. Yes. And, that was very successful. The purists and the critics or the non-Thin Lizzy fans would say, well, you'll have had it put to you before. It's not really Thin Lizzy. It's like a tribute band, and it's, I don't know, demonizing the memory of Phil and that kind of thing. You must have had that said to you and asked so many times. And how did you qualify? You don't have to qualify because effectively it's your band. You can do what you like because the songs there, like you said.
No, I think you really do have to listen to.
And try to appease them.
Yeah, and you've got to think about these kinds of things, right? So when you start looking on the, Facebook page, there's X amount of negative.
Yeah.
And then there's X amount of positive. And as you keep going with whatever you're doing, when you see the negatives shrinking quite substantially, you kind of think, well, okay, well, we're doing the right thing here. The naysayers are kind of taking a hike, and we're adding new fans and friends as we're going along. I look out from the stage, I see dads with their sons and uncles with their nephews, and they're trying to pass on the musical torch to the next generation, which is really cool to see from the stage. They've got kids have got their T-shirts on. They know the lyrics to the songs. it's pretty amazing to see this.
You've probably got the same philosophy and attitude as Brian May post Freddie. It's like, if people want to see us, they want to hear the songs, and there's the right amount of members who were there at the time.
Right.
It's for the people as much as it is for us enjoying playing the songs.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, people want to see how it's done live on stage, and you can only get so much from a record or a CD. They want to have the visual at the same time, the full impact of the PA slamming you in the face, with the lights and the whole thing. So it's important to get out there on the road and to try to show the world again, what this whole thing called Thin Lizzy was all about. Unfortunately, Phil's not with us. We all wish he was, but we all know that's not going to happen. So, hey, here's the next best thing. What do you think?
You had Black Star Riders coming out of the ashes of Thin Lizzy circa 2011, 2012. And now Thin Lizzy are kind of back again with Mikkey D, which seems on paper, it's like I'd never have put a power metal drummer in any kind of Thin Lizzy inclination.
Well, and a lot of people said that, Ricky Warwick?
Exactly.
Singing Thin Lizzy songs. So you've got to look at the musician himself rather than just what, his body of work is, right? I've played with so many different, Class A drummers, and all these guys just really pull it off in a big way. Maybe a little bit in their own way, but they really do pull it off. They're good, these guys, for a lot of different reasons, And I'm sure Mikkey D can pull out a shuffle.
We're going to find out at Rambling Man Fair.
No, he's a really good drummer. So I like to throw in a couple of surprises here every once in a while, just to get people to sit up and get their attention.
That works. It's like, wow. If you'd have said to just about anyone, a drummer for Thin Lizzy, no one would have gone with Mikkey D.
Sure.
Let's be honest.
Well, in the first place, to get up on that stage with us, you have to be a huge fan in the first place, and that ticks the first box with Mikkey D. He's been a huge Thin Lizzy fan for decades now, so he knows these songs. It's not like he's just going to get up there and
blag it,
just wing it.
Yeah.
Well, how's this song start again? Oh, geez, no, really, Mikkey? It's not going to be like that.
So here we are in 2016. You've kind of got a two-pronged attack, it would seem, from a musical output point of view, because Black Star Riders, you've had the second album. You did the Europe tour, literally the band and the continent. You've been touring and pretty consistent with that. You've got Thin Lizzy doing Rambling Man Fair, some other stuff in the pipeline. So where's it go from here? Are you going to do both, or is it?
Well, this is a special thing, the Thin Lizzy thing. I mean, it's this year is
40th.
Marks the 30th.
30th. Getting ahead of myself.
For Phil passing. But at the same time, it's the 40th year for the jailbreak.
So, yeah. I knew there was a 40 relevant in there somewhere.
So there's a couple of reasons for getting up and doing this. But I really, I had so many people saying, what are you going to do in 2016? Phil died 30 years ago. What are you going to do, right? And I know there's a lot of people out there that do want to hear this and they want to honor him. So this is our way of doing it. But we're not actually going to be doing, ridiculous, crazy Thin Lizzy tours. We're going to do maybe 5 shows.
So it is just literally tribute shows as opposed to a reunion tour.
That's right. We call them the anniversary show.
And that's it, yeah. Of course, every few years there's anniversaries.
There you go.
So you could be
31, next year.
Yeah. And what of Black Star Riders? Ricky's always writing. He never seems to be out of the studio or off the road.
That's right. He's another Iron Man. We are this year no Black Star Riders anything except for recording the 3rd album, and we'll probably start that around August. We'll go back to Nashville with Nick Raskulinich. Boy, that was a tough one to say.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you wouldn't say that after a few sherbets.
If you actually looked at how he spells his name, you would never come out with Raskulinich. It's one of those. And we are this year no Black Star Riders anything except for recording the 3rd album. And we'll probably start that around August. We'll go back to Nashville with Nick Raskulinich. Boy, that was a tough one to say.
Yeah, I'm going to say, you wouldn't say that after a few sherbets.
If you actually looked at how he spells his name, you would never come out with Raskulinich. It's one of those. So it was a perfect time to be able to do this anniversary tribute thing to Phil and the Jailbreak album. Like I say, Black Star Riders is off the road, so it's good timing.